Hello, universe. This is Pickaton Podcast, episode 21. I'm your host, Zale Schoenborn. I'm also the founder of the Pickaton Music Festival that happens the first Saturday of August in Portland, Oregon. And this is a podcast about discovery. We try to go into conversations and learn something new, and hopefully walk away with something that you didn't know about, I didn't know about, you didn't know about, and on our own little adventure to find out. So here we go. Wish us luck. Today, my guest is the amazing Cat Clyde, who was at the festival this year, and we'll get to talk to her in a second. She's actually from Canada, which one of the things that's really awesome for me about Canadian artists, and it's just really hit home for me, is just how hard it is in what Canada does to kind of make it music and arts possible. When you think about performing or doing a festival or anything here in the United States, you're just kind of brutally on your own. There's really, there are some little tiny grants, there's a little bit of help, but the type of support you can get as a visual artist, performing artist, is kind of exposed to the capitalistic, let's say, market 100%. So you better have a day job to start off if you want to be a musician or you want to start a festival. Or you just better have a ton of money you want to burn. And either way, you can kind of make it. But you need that kind of seed money. There's not like a focused thing here in the United States that has the power to think across the country. In Oregon, we have something called the Regional Arts RAC that does small grants to different people. But typically, when you're in music, so many parts of that ecosystem that are trying to get started and kind of get traction to where they can support themselves. And that's really what the magic really is about when you're thinking about how you kind of build an ecosystem. It's not so much that you have to support everyone forever, but it's really always about trying to support someone when they're first starting out and no one's heard of them. They don't have any way to record a record. They're a festival that just has an idea, but there's not enough folks coming, and it could be a tourism. There could be lots of things that are going to be a benefit from either an individual or an organization or even a venue. But I can't help but think there's so much art that doesn't get created in the United States because there's just not very kind of thought that we need to cultivate it. Another way of saying is it's kind of not really valued in the same way as a culture. Everyone loves music. They love going to it. They love to go, spend $1 bazillion seeing Taylor Swift. But if you think about it, how many Taylor Swifts or, different musicians never actually happened because they didn't have that money. They didn't have the ability to kind of have a day job and survive. When you look at a festival like ours, like Pickaton, it was, a tiny event that did not make money for a long time, probably 18, 15, 16, 17, 18 years out of 20. We just barely broke even, sometimes a little bit, but it's something that took all it could do to just put it back into the next year to try to break even, to kind of add that next piece that was missing. And we were lucky kind of along that way, but the core thing that allowed us as a festival to happen was I had a day job. I worked in kind of high tech, doing totally different, unrelated job. It was creative. It was just doing, hardware for Intel for 20 years. And it was great. I was principal engineer, and I liked that. But the music side of my life really kind of only existed because I had that. and I was able to kind of navigate all of the like complexities of trying to make the festival, dedicate enough time to it as a second full-time job and pull in people and build that community. And it's kind of sad to think about like how many festivals couldn't get, there's such a high bar. There's so many ways that we're lucky didn't have any kind of like family money to put into this. I had my own time and my own family put in tons of time into this, and so many other folks put time into it. And I do have to give a shout out along the way. We did have a tourism grant with North Clackamas County that really was incredibly timely back when we just moved to Pendarvis Farm. So we just moved from kind of our third location, which was Hornings Hideout for 6 years, Pudding River for one, and then ever since 2006, we've been at Pendarvis Farm. And in that second, third, fourth year of being at the Pendarvis Farm, we were able to get a grant that was kind of life-saving. I don't even know if we would have survived and how important that was, and which doesn't really exist now. I mean, other festivals, and we're kind of the poster child of what that that investment actually let us have. But when you look at Canada, there is government, state, local people. I don't even know all of the things that are going on there, but I know that Justin Cat Clyde lives in Ontario. I was just looking that the provincial government, not the national, spent 56 million on the arts, and I was comparing it to Texas, which spent like 11 million with twice the population of Ontario. So you're looking at like a 10x, investment, and there's so much wealth there, that in Texas, or think about like, this is a study done, an article in Austin, and it just kind of illustrates one aspect. Then there's also national programs that like Factor, which I know it kind of underwrites specific parts of artists' lives at different points, and then there's I know my friend Dan Buckner, and who lived in Quebec and Vancouver and all over, had access to a studio that was subsidized, and depending on what he was doing, was supported artistically and trying to do various projects that brought tourism. The thing about culture, and you look at economic development, it's one of the biggest returns on investment, period. If you have culture, you're going to have people coming. You're going to have people wanting to live there. You're going to have a robust, livable community that is desirable, that is going to have huge returns. But that's just not the thing that happens, in it's just left to happen by chance in the States. And as much as I want to get upset about it, I think I just always have to navigate it. I just really kind of want to point it out that it doesn't have to be that way. If you have to subsidize or I think it doesn't make it less or people more lazy. It just makes more possibilities that amazing things will happen. And you look at the kind of output of Canada for the size of the country, and it has an absolutely intensely stellar music scene. And I'm blown away every time. And our festival always is pulling in folks. There was several this year. Wine Lips from Toronto. We've had Coulter Wall and Whip Parade, O.C. Elliott this year from Vancouver, just unbelievable. And our guest here today, Cat Clyde. Welcome.
Why are you so cold? Whoever told you could act like that?
Hi, Cat.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I wish things were more like Canada here. That's what I wish for the arts.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of, have you found like, has Canada supported you in kind of being an artist and musician?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't think I could probably do this without grants. So I'm really grateful for the grants that I have received, and it can be hard to get them, but
yeah,
it's really awesome to get them. Yeah.
And am I right? Is there kind of like local, like regional, maybe even local and national like types of grants?
Yeah. Um,
Or what's the main grants? How do you just summarize grants as a musician living in Canada?
Grants are really hard and they're really overwhelming and it's a lot of paperwork. So I do have a lot of help with the
Hmm.
grants. But yeah, like Factor and yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for them. They're awesome.
I went to an incredible conference once in Quebec that they paid for us to attend. M is from Montreal. I loved it. I mean, it was in Montreal. Sorry,
Awesome.
it was so fun. I loved and just the music scene and the so much great stuff happening kind of all over Canada, and I'm just kind of blown away. So you grew up not in a major city though. You were out in kind of the country, right? You're way up in.
Hmm.
Where were you born? You were born in.
I was actually born in Sarnia, but I moved around a lot as a kid, just mostly around Southern
Mhm.
Ontario. But I spent like from the time I was about 10 to about 16, 17, um, in rural Ontario, Perth County, Ontario, just outside of Stratford, which I'm in right now.
How many people live there? Like, what's it like? How would you describe it?
Hmm. It was kind of like a village, so it was like a cluster of houses. I think there was probably like I want to say like 12 houses,
Wow,
like two streets. So 12 houses on one street and maybe like less, like 10, 8 houses on another street.
wow.
And then that was it. And then the nearest town was like 15, 20
Which
minutes
is how
away.
big?
Oh, like really small. And then Stratford, I think Stratford's decent size, but, and yeah, that's probably like 25, 30 minutes away.
And is this like the
So,
plains? Is it the plains? Would you say?
no, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of inland, like between the two lakes and I don't know, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's just kind of like farm country. There's lots of fields and forests. But yeah, I guess it's not like super hilly. So it's quite open space, but it's not plains.
What got you into music living out there? Like, what? How did music enter your life?
I think like when I was a kid, I used to visit my grandparents
Hmm.
up north in like Georgian Bay area, which is like lots of lakes and rocks and big pines and things like that. And my grandfather played the fiddle, and that really um, was inspiring. Just being a young kid and seeing that. That was kind of like my first like live music thing. And then both my uncles were really great musicians as well, and they both played like folk, blues, country guitar
Hmm.
and piano. And my one uncle played accordion, so that was kind of like my introduction to music. And I always really loved to sing. I was always singing, and um, but I didn't really get to start playing music until later on. Like I got my first guitar when I was about 15, and I had done some piano lessons when I was younger, but those fell off. And yeah, so I just kind of started learning guitar on my own, and had some really close friends nearby that owned a music store down in the town. And yeah, that was really inspiring to me too. And
Was that which town was that in? That was in.
Mitchell, Ontario.
Ah,
Yeah. And yeah, that was kind of my introduction to like playing music as well. I sort of, when I started learning guitar, I started teaching at the store. I was probably like 14.
wow.
And
Were you learning finger style?
no, just basic, really basic stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. Just like chords and stuff. And but yeah, I ended up, my friend's parents owned the music store.
Oh
And
wow.
so they got all the teachers together who were also just like young kids and created this little show called the Big Wheel Show. And we all like performed and sang at local fairs and stuff. So that was kind of my first introduction to like playing and performing and things like that.
It was kind of like a band.
Yeah, it was kind of like a band. It was like we each had like three or four songs, and we'd each, there was probably like six of us, and we'd each like do our three songs, and then that was our set. So,
Everyone else would back everyone else up, kind of thing.
yeah,
That's cool. And
yeah.
you have kind of like this, so many styles kind of in your music, and maybe call it Americana or singer songwriter or some, but there's a lot of I mean, there's rock in your music. There's blues. There's I hear like just old roots music all over your music. Like you have been exposed to a lot. I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely really love older music, and um, it's definitely like the music that, has inspired me and moved me the most to really love music.
And when you were in this kind of big wheels, was there a place to like? Was like was the store the place you were playing, or were you actually playing other places in town, like
We were
bars,
playing fairs.
playing
Yeah, we weren't
fairs?
playing bars, we were playing fairs, yes. So, yeah, under the beer tent.
Is that like in the summer when it's cool, when you can actually
Mhm.
do it, and not so much in the winter?
Yeah, not in the winter, just in the summer, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that probably a lot of people come up there in the summer versus the winter. It becomes much more.
Yeah, definitely.
Is the big town there? Was it Stratford? You said what was it?
Yeah, Stratford.
What makes it a tourist town? Why would people come there?
So there's like some really nice old theaters that have been there
Hmm.
for a really long time, and they've had plays there for a really long time. So a lot of like Shakespeare plays and things like that. And yeah, as I kind of got older, I would like busk outside the theater because you
Hmm.
could kind of make a decent amount of money. So yeah, I started busking a lot in Stratford, and it was really easy for me to busk. And yeah, that was a really fun experience as well. I really enjoyed that.
And were you starting to write songs by that point?
Yeah. So it was like a nice place to kind of bounce them off of passersby, I guess. Yeah.
And like, what time frame is this? What years were you doing? Was this in
Like 15, 16, 17 years old. So 2012.
12? Okay. So you're starting to get into it, and are you starting to form a band there, or did you decide to like go to what was the next step? What kind of like led you to kind of like taking it up more seriously?
I had a band with my neighbor friend from Perth County, and whose parents owned the music store. So we ended up having a band together, which was really great. His name was Dustin, and we're still
Mm-hmm.
friends to this day. Yeah, and then like that sort of fell off, and then I ended up just before I went to college, I ended up fronting this punk band, which was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And it was just I was just singing, and it was just like punk rock covers, and it was just really good, really fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then I decided that I was going to try doing music, and so I did a program in London, Ontario called Music Industry Arts, and it sort of had a bunch of different things in it. Like it had production and recording and live performance and engineering, all the stuff. So that was really great. And in that, I sort of met a lot of people that changed a lot for me and helped me a lot. And that was a really great experience.
Yeah, I read that one of the bands that you guys started, was it the Shit Bats? Was that actually the name of the band?
That's right. That's right.
I love that name. It's a great band name.
Yeah, the ship bats are still alive. They are still alive.
What?
And we recorded a record over the pandemic, which was really awesome. And we're planning on
Really?
making
Is
a
it?
new record soon.
Holy moly! And this is actually one of the you met. You're one of your partners. Was it Summer
Yes,
Jason?
that's right.
That's pretty cool. And
Yeah,
what does he play?
he plays the drums.
Ah, cool. So the Shitbats is actually a real band. And still, I was like, man, that
They are a real
I
band.
circled
You
this
can look them
name.
up. Yeah.
I am gonna look him up because I was like, that is. There's like names, band names are funny because you like have this, visceral reaction. Like I'm sure somebody doesn't like that, but somehow I'm like, wow, that's kind of I don't know, like I never heard that, and I'm pretty picky with band names. So, uh,
Nice. That's cool.
is it a punk rock band?
Yeah, it's like a surf punk band. But I love it. I don't play anything. I just sing and I dance, and it's quite a like visceral experience for me. And it's always very. I feel a lot of release and a lot of freedom in that band, and it's a lot of fun.
That's great. And there's like you guys all met in that program.
Yeah, we all met in the program. Yeah.
Yeah, and is that a bigger town, London, Ontario? Like I actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bigger city. Yeah.
So you're taking this program, and it just did it inspire you like, okay, I'm gonna do this, or like I think That was probably right when you were getting ready to record your first record, right? 2017, Ivory Castanets.
Yeah, when I was in college, it was really inspiring. It was just kind of the first time I had met a bunch of people that, had similar interests and were, just very in love with music, and we would have studio times in the studios, and it was all hours of the day, or all
Wow.
hours of the night.
I know, it's so
And
fun.
so you just like meet up with people and go, and you'd play on other people's projects, and other people would play on your projects. And it was just like, you just find people who had, specific gifts or specific things that they were good at, and, ask them to do stuff. And it was just very experimental, and it was, um, just a really positive environment. And I had kind of been gathering songs and writing while I was in college. And then by the end of college, I had kind of amassed like groupings of songs that I really liked. And a professor of mine from the program really wanted to help me record a record after I graduated. So he ended up introducing me to this guitar player who was a year ahead of me in the program. And yeah, we just clicked really well. And it was a really amazing experience playing with him. And he was just such a great musician. And yeah, we ended up recording my first record in his basement, and he played the guitar and the piano and the bass, and he mixed the
Wow.
record.
Whoa.
It was such a cool experience, and I really enjoy that time. Yeah.
And who was this person? Who was this?
Patrick Faulkner.
Is he still around? Is he
He's
involved?
around. He does a lot of stuff on his own, and yeah, he's just like an unbelievably talented player. And yeah, it was just an absolute pleasure to play with him. And yeah, he's great.
It's super magical when you're like, when things start to click, when you're starting to learn. I'm actually a mandolin player, and myself, and just I love the magic, especially when I was first, getting to play and starting to connect with friends, and your music, you feel like, oh yeah, this actually feels like we're making the music I want to make, right? Isn't that a awesome
Yeah.
feeling?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Magic.
From there, you graduated, and I know that your next record was Hunter's Trance. Where did you record that? What was the story there? What happened after you left the program?
Yeah, so I released that record, and then I ended up getting picked up by a label in New York called Cinematic.
Cinematic Music Group, yeah.
Yeah, they're like a rap label, so it was kind of strange.
Yeah.
But it was really great. I really loved Johnny, and he was the owner of the label. And yeah, he was just really lovely. And that was kind of my beginning of touring and playing. And that was just a really nice experience doing that. And it was all playing in the States. Really, I've played more in the States than I have really in Canada.
And that's where Canadian government kind of helps out there sometimes, right? That's like one of those places where you get
Yeah,
grant.
I mean, initially, like I couldn't get grants because I was with an American label, and I
Mm-hmm.
was so that was really hard. So when I was with them, I didn't really have access to grants. But
Mm.
um, in the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been separated from them, and so I've really taken advantage of the grants only just recently. So
And you didn't make a rap record. There's
I
not a
did
secret
not
rap
know.
record.
No, not
Dang.
for me. No.
That's awesome. So that's kind of such a random connection though, that somebody heard, he heard your
Yeah.
music and just said, I want to put it out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was really
Was it
cool.
through friends, or was it just on the internet, or what
On
was
the
it?
internet. On the internet. And, Strummer was really helping me push the record. And it was, yeah, just sending it to blogs and people. And he just found the song Mama Said and really loved it. And so then I re-released it with Cinematic. And
That basically kind of took you up to, you released a record in 2020, was it before COVID or right at the beginning of COVID?
I think that was right at the beginning. So I did Hunter's Trance, and then I did the one you're talking about. It was
Good Bones.
yeah, Good Bones, just an acoustic record of all the songs, just acoustic. Because when I was touring, I was mostly touring alone. So
Yeah,
I
financial
kind of
reasons, usually, right? Because it's like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so I kind of wanted to capture that and kind of put that out because that's what I was performing, even though my record was more full band stuff. So yeah, I wanted to capture that.
I must have fun that first tour when you went out and about.
Oh yeah, totally. It was crazy, just driving around in the van and putting mad kilometers on the odometer and just, yeah, it was crazy and it was awesome.
Yeah, you're meeting people for the first time. I'm sure you met tons of
Hmm.
connections, like, building that audience in different places. So that when you come back, they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember."
Yeah.
But it's hard. It can be really hard and like lonely in those first, like, did you have support going with you? Did somebody drive around with you?
Yeah, Strummer was with me and we kind of just the two of us did it all together. So it was a pretty awesome experience.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
And then COVID hits, which is weird for everyone.
Hmm.
We had a weird, I mean, festivals like us, so we just shut down and like felt like, okay, end of world, like end times. Um, Weird things happen. We had a very resilient community, and we did a bunch of things with the Grammys and just lots of weird things that just were kind of random, and we haven't done since. But it felt terrible, and I know you guys you had pretty crazy stories over that time too, right? You went back to, was it to Quebec? Was that where did you guys go back to?
Yeah, so we were living in Quebec at the time and we had a little studio up there and it was a really
Hmm.
lovely spot. And yeah, that's where we recorded Good Bones.
Yeah,
And then we also, after that, I did a record with Jeremy Albino called Blue Blue Blue, which was a collaborative record.
such a good record, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, so we recorded it at the Quebec house as well, which was really nice.
Oh wow. And I mean that particular record. I know you guys both recorded, separate records. Are you gonna do another collaboration?
Definitely, yeah.
It's such a strong record. Have you ever toured
No,
that?
I would really love to.
And what do you guys call yourself? Is it? I mean, do you just go by your names? Is that what? Did you give it? Is there an actual name?
I think the record is called Blue Blue Blue, but I think like that's kind of it feels like the whole project is kind of called Blue Blue Blue. So
It's. I
yeah.
mean, that's the first record I actually heard of yours,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, it jumped out at me. There's a lot of chemistry there. It's kind of a retro record, right? And just great duets. I mean, that your two vocals are absolutely stellar together, and you both have a lot of power in your vocals. And you know, Jeremy just brings kind of like a retro kind of like rock and roll blues ish kind of sound to it. It's just really cool.
Yeah, totally. I love working with him and I love his style and making that record was just so much fun. And yeah, I love playing with him.
Where's he from?
He's from Toronto area.
And and you guys just met locally, just through friends?
Yeah, he actually opened up for me and I saw him play and I was just like, I just loved it. And we just became really close after that and, really stayed in touch.
Just
And
record a record.
yeah, and then we sort of went to his parents have a place in Prince Edward County, which is really beautiful area with lots of lakes
Oh
and stuff.
yeah.
And we went there and just jammed. And actually, the one song on the record, "You Was Born to Die,"
Mm-hmm.
we recorded it there, and it was just sort of we were jamming, and it was whatever. And it was kind of from that song that we decided I think we should just make a record like this of cover songs and doing them our own way. And yeah, really stemmed from that. And a few years later, we got to make Blue, Blue, Blue.
Yep. And wait, is there any originals on there, or are they just all covers?
There's two originals. One was a co-write, Ben Worrian.
I've been worrying all my days. Oh, it's a shame. Why I gotta think this way? I've been wondering all my life. Well,
I mean, Ben Worrian is an incredible song. It's like a classic song.
Yeah, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, such a good song. So that's a project I'm hoping you guys decide to cover too more, along with Shit Bats. So Blue Blue
Yes,
Blue.
I'm excited for you to check out the Ship Bats. So
I'm
you're in for a
excited.
treat.
I'm totally we love punk rock, as you know. We love punk, surfer punk, any type of
Yeah,
anything as long as it's good. And
Yeah.
it's like that's kind of our minimum bar, grit and soul. As long as it
Yeah.
has something like that, it's gonna usually work.
Well, bring the ship bats next year.
Well, and so you guys, this is the crazy story that then maybe you can tell me is so you guys had this weird experience where you kind of, I guess you must have done this record, and then you were thinking about recording, I guess what turned into Down on Rounder, right? And
Yeah.
things did not go well when you were there. Like, well, tell us what happened.
Yeah, they did not go well. I mean, we started um, just recording demos and hashing out songs and really digging into it. And my partner and I both just started feeling ill and like really hard to do anything, like just felt exhausted and confused and tired all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
so I ended up ordering this like mold detection kit off of Amazon
Mm-hmm.
and basically tested the air, and it was really bad, like really, really bad. There was like really bad mold. And
And tell me what that means, because I don't know. Like, what's the scale? Like, what is really bad mold when you measure it?
well, it was like just like a sort of like a petri dish sort of thing, and you just leave it open in the air, and then basically you close it up and you leave it for I think like 3 days or something. And if there's like mold in the air, it will just like you'll see it in the dish and it's just like growing. So it's
Oh,
like depending on what you see in the dish is like the different types of mold that are in the air just floating around. So we were breathing this in like all the time. So we talked to the landlord about it, and she, brought some people in and realized like it felt like it was in the bedroom area. And so they kind of like looked in the attic, and it turned out there was like this really old rotting bird's nest with like eggs
ew.
still in it, and it was just really
Ah.
a lot. And then yeah, so we just realized we just need to get out of there. And I think like the amount of effort and work it would take to properly get it cleaned and sorted was just like, I don't know, we just been there, and it was really sad because we had a studio there, and so that was just really difficult. So we had to leave, and it was
Oh
winter,
man.
which was really hard. And then we almost moved to Montreal, and then ended up actually getting an apartment and painting it, and
Mm-hmm.
almost moving in, and then realizing like there was a bunch of tenants that smoked, and there was also
Oh
like
no.
the windows and doors didn't hold heat, like there was no heat that was being held, and it was just really overwhelming. And so we left all our shit in a storage container and
It's
just
like
went,
gut punches.
yeah, just went home. And then it was just really difficult because it was like I really had no sort of solid ground to like figure out how I was going to make this record, and all my ideas that I had. And it was such a rush to pack everything and take everything down as well. So and then so yeah, we went home, and that was like a 7-hour difference. So like
Mm.
all of our shit was in Quebec, and we were in Ontario. And
Mm.
um I mean, I feel like we're just kind of getting back on our feet, really. It's just been like a really hectic, chaotic time. And also it's just kind of like, our rent was really good price when we were living there. And Quebec is, you know, has like cheaper rent, but it kind of feels impossible right now to be able to afford to
Right.
live.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so it's just been really difficult. But I ended up working out with the record because I ended up getting connected with Tony Berg,
Mm-hmm.
um,
In
which
L.A.,
was
right?
really amazing. Yeah, and I was sort of like my manager knew him, and they were connected, and so I started doing just like video calls with him, and just sort of like because I just felt like everything was like I just didn't know what to do with the songs, and
Yeah.
I just felt very confused. And so we sort of picked them apart together, and he didn't really have the time or the space to produce it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at other options and stuff. And then, the turn of the year came, and, March rolled around, and then I just got a call, and it was like, hey, Tony's got 6 days if you want to go down to Sound City and just do the record.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd already put so much time and effort and work into like getting the songs where I wanted them. So I just jumped on it and I wanted to get this record done. It had just been dragging out for so long and I was just so ready to be done with it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, after all that stuff too, like kind of feel
Yeah.
like just setbacks, you know, or whatever. You're like
Yeah.
you're at a stable spot, and all these things kind of pulling you back to where you grew up, which can be glorious if you intentionally go there, but if you have to like use it as a home base, sometimes I'm sure kind of under makes just things kind of stressful.
Yeah, very stressful. So I was really grateful that, Tony had the space and it was just such an incredible experience making that record. Just like the space was incredible, Tony was
Mm,
incredible, and then all the musicians that he brought in were just like absolutely spectacular people to work with. And I felt so held and I felt so everyone just like believed in it so much and they were
wow.
all really, really loved the music. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that really, I mean, I wouldn't really want to make something unless everybody loved it, so that I was just really grateful for that. And I didn't even get to meet them or know who was even going to be there before I arrived, so it was just really perfect.
It's so what a great story. Like, and it almost, those musicians, they must have been amazing because it sounds like you'd been playing with them for a long time. Like,
Yeah, they were absolutely incredible. It was such a wonderful experience, and we did a lot of the record live. And then I also got to keep two songs from my previous recordings in my Quebec studio. So
oh, which ones? Which ones?
I feel it.
Ooh.
I actually recorded that in Burlington, Ontario, but that was one of the recordings that I had done.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Will McClellan, he was the engineer and he did some really beautiful movements in the song that I just kind of recorded the piano and the vocal and I got this beautiful cello player and it was just yeah.
It's super haunting and just like emotional and
Everything becomes more clear when it's raining. All the dread that's in my head starts to fade.
Yeah, so that was it was really nice to have like one, one song that or two songs that came from that previous recordings because yeah, it was really nice. And then the other song was The Gloom.
Out of the gloom, I fell in love with the moon.
oh, cool.
So that was recorded at the Quebec studio, and then with some also I did a version of it with Tony, but it didn't really feel totally right to me. So we kind of mashed the versions together, which was really interesting.
That's interesting. This, one of the songs that I really heard on there that blew me away was Eternity. There's such
Oh,
a
cool.
power in that kind of course of that song. Like it kind of explodes.
When comes the top? When comes the peak? Will I know it when I see it? Will it?
Thank you. I love that song.
Did you have that in mind, or did that just come together in the studio? Like, it's very like almost like a. It stands out to me, just like wow, the production on this is really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, working with Tony was just such a treat because it felt like, I don't know, he's just a really intuitive, incredible producer. And I really felt like he was able to really see the good parts of what I had and make them, like shine. And in that song, like I really wanted the verses to be bare and then the chorus to really hit and feel like home, you come back home to the chorus and um
Mm-hmm.
he really just took that and really understood exactly what I felt and kind of almost made it even better than I could have imagined. And yeah, I really loved that song and recording that song was really beautiful.
Yeah, it's just like I said, this record it's hard to pin down. You're all over the map, but it all feels very cohesive. Like every one of those songs feels like they're authentic versions of what you wanted to do. Like it doesn't feel like you were just kind of strumming guitar and like singing folk songs or singer songwriters. These are big songs
Thank you.
and lots of different sounds. So it's interesting because we listen to tons of music, and it sometimes the songs the albums are really diverse. Like for me, singing is always like one of the core elements of anything that just hits you deep, and your voice is pretty awesome. And one of the people on our staff or works with us, Katie Kogolo, she was such a fan of yours and like kept bringing up music that we should look at you guys. We should look. And there was we were like kind of late in the process, but we ended up finding kind of a space for you at Pickaton. And I'm really curious, like, how was that experience for you this year coming to the festival?
I mean, it was awesome. I loved it. I really love like a camping festival. I love like kind of being on the grounds and staying on the grounds. It gives you an opportunity to like meet people and connect with people in a way that you just like you can't being on tour and traveling and doing that. And yeah, I also love like the natural aspect, and like it's just like inspiring to like not be on your phone and be more present. And I don't know, it really does feel like an adventure, and you're kind of like entering another world with all these rules that like are separate from the real world, and it's just like a great energy, and I really love it. And yeah, the spot that we got to play was amazing on the big stage, like right as the sun was going down. It was
Paddock.
spectacular. Yeah, it was really spectacular. And then also the barn stage was just
The Lucky Barn.
the Lucky
Yeah.
Barn. Oh, I loved that space. And I actually
So
got there
great.
like a day early, and I was like the first one there. And I just kind of went in there and spent the afternoon in there and just like playing and just feeling the room. And it was just such a wonderful space. So I really enjoyed the festival a lot.
That's awesome. You killed it, and you had you people were kind of gunning for you because I knew one of the videos you kind of recorded for us, like a little Instagram reel, was one of our most popular ones leading up to the festival.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so yeah, it was so perfect. This the funny thing about that. So like, Cat played in the Lucky Barn, which is our smallest venue, and our largest venue, the Paddock Stage, which they're both very different experiences, right? The kind of Lucky Barn is like was kind of like some question and listen and answer. But what's interesting about that venue, and you may not know, it is a lot of famous records have been recorded in there.
Oh,
The
really?
Decemberists recorded their number one Billboard record in there. So
Wow. That's amazing.
Typhoon, like a bunch of folks have recorded, and like significant records in there. But the big success that the Decemberists had, because I think it's the only, besides Louie Louie, it's the only time
Mm.
there's been a number one record out of Oregon. And I don't know if
Wow.
Louie is kind of one of these controversial, like I don't even know if it's from Oregon technically. It's like Vancouver, Washington, or something.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was great having you. It was really fun, and yeah, it reminds me. I feel like Pickathon is something that could potentially happen in Canada. In fact, we actually got the no waste from something called the Hillside Festival. Do you know what that is? You ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's in Guelph. I've played that. It's a great festival.
They wash all their dishes.
Yeah.
That's where we got it. We're like,
Oh,
okay.
wow. It's funny because I've been like playing quite a few festivals this year, and one of my favorites is the North Country Fair in northern Alberta. And
Ooh.
yeah, and I've done like the Edmonton folk and the Winnipeg folk now, and then Pickathon, and it was really interesting because I was like, I feel like I want to like write out all the like good things and the bad things about festivals, and then like send them to the festival so they can like improve their festival experience.
You
um
should.
yeah, because it's interesting, roughing it and doing that. And
What did you notice?
I mean, if I could suggest one thing from Pickathon, it
Yeah,
would be
absolutely.
there was too many barriers for walking, and it was like really exhausting. And it would be nice
Oh.
if artists could maybe like slip through those barriers as well as like
Mm-hmm.
team members. So, because we're also team members. So that would have been nice. But that was really my only qualm.
Knowing the paths.
But having access to the shortcuts, because it's a lot of energy to expend walking from your campsite to places and then performing. So that was my only
Yes.
thing.
Did you ever go up to your living room up there, the pump house,
Yes, I
the church?
did. Yeah, I recorded
Yeah.
a couple of songs there as well.
Yeah, you're camping, the artist camp. So you camped on site. There was a bunch of, I don't know if you met some of the other artists camping by you. There
Yeah,
was quite a number. There was like, I think, 90 artists camping, 90
it
different
was
like people.
awesome. The tents were awesome. The location was awesome. Like in the trees was really awesome. And yeah, it was really beautiful.
One of the artists, I mean, it's funny because I would hang out and I would be talking. Some of the artists, this is their first time camping ever. Like they hate
Wow.
change from Tampa. I don't know if you met them, the
No.
rap group from Tampa. That was like talking to them and like, oh yeah, we're camping. It's our first time ever. I was like, really?
Wow. That's crazy.
That's
I
awesome.
think the food was fantastic. I really loved the food. And that was really good.
Scratch kitchen.
Yeah. And also like a bandmate of mine has a nut allergy, so just like being able to ask about that and like having everyone be really like easygoing about that, which is was really nice, and being able to like say the ingredients and what was in stuff and stuff like that. So that was really nice.
Hats off to Schwa for who
Yeah,
does
the
the
food was
cooking.
amazing.
And do you get is are there festivals in Canada similar to Pickathon? Would you say Pickathon is like more like a Canadian festival or like you feel like it's I'm super curious what the difference is like when you think of
Yeah, I mean, all festivals are different. I felt like this one was nice. It felt like, I mean, this one was really unique because it had all these like art installations and things like that all around, and which I think was just really amazing. It just like it felt like a world that you were walking in, like a different reality that you got to exist in for a period of time, and then it was over, and it
yes,
literally gets
an experience.
taken down. Like it's literally just like once it happens, it's there, and it's different every time, obviously. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really crazy and powerful. And also like I went to there was the stage like in the woods. I forget
The
what
wood
this
stage. Yeah.
yeah, the wood stage. And I, walked around where everyone was camped, and it was just like so amazing seeing everyone camped in the trees, and they all had hammocks, and that was
All
really
the kids.
yeah, and the pedaling children going into the tent city was like so it was like another world. It was really cool, and yeah, it
Yeah.
was awesome.
It's fun to have like all those kids running around. Like Jenna, like our whole thing is to kind of arc pop culture just a little bit, infect these kind of younger kids. Like this is good music. It's not everything you hear. Like and it kind of works. Like they turn into like teenagers and 20s, and then they're still having fun doing it, and they don't question that kind of like crazy mix. Like I think you were right on before Witch on Sunday night,
Yeah,
right? Weren't you
yeah,
like? Which is a wild combination, Zamrock and
yeah.
Cat Clyde. So yeah, I was a real honor having you. We really loved it. I'm glad you could make it, and I totally think it's going to be. Yeah, do you have another record coming up? What's in the future here?
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally another record coming in the future, and maybe some more collaborations with some new people, and um, yeah, really looking forward to that. But I had such a blast at Pickathon, and I was really grateful to be there.
Well, hopefully coming through the big payoff usually is that now you're multiple venues bigger, so you can start to really kind of build that West Coast tour, a
Hmm.
strong West Coast tour. So I know that's going to happen for you. I'm really happy for you. Really excited that we got to kind of have you, and it's been a pleasure to get to talk to you today. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Well, you'll have to get the shit bats up in there next time, eh?
Shit bats and blue, blue, blue. I want to
Yeah.
be kept
Oh,
in that kind.
totally. That would be great. That would be so cool.
I want to know more. I want to know if that's a real project. I'm not joking. I really would love to know. So keep us in the
Yeah.
loop.
I mean, yeah, that would be great. We would be so happy to do that.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, cool. We'll know that. We'll put that into the hopper of the I don't know, 400 hours of music I think we are starting to assemble for next year through friends.
Nice.
And we always, open to suggestions. So thanks for being my guest today. It was really great. And this is the end of episode 21 with Cat Clyde. Canada, you should infect United States, teach us how to take care and create more amazing musicians so folks like Cat Clyde can come out of the United States and not just Canada. So we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being a guest, and we'll see everyone next week. Bye-bye, universe. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Pickaton Podcast. This show is produced by Zale Schoenborn, Tanner McCullough, and Evan Throckmorton. Our artwork is by Travis Bone, and additional support by Ryan Stiles. The music you heard in this episode was by our guest of honor, Cat Clyde. The songs included were The Meadow, So Cold, Been Worryin', I Feel It, The Gloom, Eternity, and the one we're riding out on right now, Everywhere I Go. Thank you to the whole Pickathon family, and like Zale said, we'll catch you all next week.
Above the earth, above the clouds, above we're strangers standing